Welcome to the Bird Joy Podcast. I'm Dexter Patterson.
And I'm Jason Hall. This is the podcast for all the bird nerds and homies out there that want to find a little bird joy.
Yes, are you ready for a little bit more bird joy in season 2? Let's go. Let's go. I know, I can't even believe that I said only a little bit more for season 2, bro. Like, this is crazy. How did we get here? It's 2025 and we're wrapping up season 2. This is crazy.
I know. It was a vision to have on so many people and to get a second season out there, and took a little bit of elbow grease in terms of scheduling and run the shows and research and trying to be good hosts, right? And coordination. And damn it, if we didn't do the damn thing. I mean, I think we did.
I think we did. I would just say thank you to you. We've been working hard all season, just kind of like wrangling all these amazing people and like you said, putting together shows that we felt were fitting of that guest. But also we were very intentional, you and I, when we talked about transitioning to this season and wanting to make sure that we not only brought the joy out of all the guests, but a little bit more than what we have been seeing out there in the ether. I think that's probably what I'm most proud about, bro, is that we were able to center the joy, but also just these amazing people in a way I don't think had been done prior to this season of our podcast.
Yeah. And it was, making sure that we did it the way we wanted to do it, not the way other podcasts do it necessarily. Nothing wrong with them. We have a certain vibe that we wanted to put out there in a way to have a conversation with folks that would have been similar to the same conversation we'd have with them out birding, out to dinner, out having an adult beverage, whatever it is, right? And it was really a joyful season, man. It was a great season. And I'm wondering, what was your favorite part, if you can even pick one?
It's funny. People always ask me, Dex, what's your favorite bird? And I'm like, picking a favorite bird's like picking a favorite kid. I have 4 kids, bro. Yeah. I think when it comes to this season, I'm taking a similar approach. I plead the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th, because they're all amazing. Like, every guest was amazing. Every week was amazing. Like, when I think about how we structured this podcast, it was, with the seasons of birding, and we wanted to be able to be with people during these core seasons of birding. Yeah. And I look back on it and it's been 3 months, bro. Yeah. And in 3 months, we talked to all these amazing people. And I think that was what really resonated with me, what stood out to me most was like, man, I knew these people, but I ain't know these people, And having the opportunity to sit there and listen and learn, to me, that was just, you talked about those moments of the Bird Joy cup being full. And I told you my cup is full after certain events. I swear every Sunday I get so excited to sit down and chat with you, but it changed because we were not only chatting with each other, but chatting with these amazing people. Yeah. And it has to be the guest for me, bro. It has to be the guest.
Of course.
What about you? How did this season feel different from season 1? Season 1, we're together. We're getting our podcast legs up under us and figuring things out and figuring each other out and how we want to communicate with each other. Yeah. But what was different for you this season?
I like the fact that other people took you and I on a journey. Right. Like there was some storytelling, right? Like I feel like, we were in Alaska with Lewis and Mariah. We were in Malaysia with Alex. We were on the Great Lakes with Amar. We were in San Diego with Tammah. We were just all over. Like, it's just so many guests.
Flatbush.
Yeah, right. We were in Flatbush, right? We were in North Carolina. We were in Florida. We were in Utah.
We were everywhere.
I feel like each episode took us to a different part of the world. And I enjoyed being able to navigate how we found all these different flavors of bird joy in those settings with those people and their perspectives. It really, I think, was a good example of the diversity of this community and how, even though the base layer comes down to a human and a bird living in the same environment, and at least from our side, our appreciation for our little feathered friends, that from that foundational point of connection, there is just so much color and diversity with our experiences, right? Like that was the cool part to me. And it almost seems infinite, it seems like this could go on forever because there's 10,000 plus species of birds and there's 8 billion people. And it's, like there's not enough podcast seasons to get you the full picture. But it was great, man. It was great. I mean, I think we did a good job of trying to represent that diversity within our guests this season. And I think we're going to continue to do that moving forward. I mean, what do you feel like? You feel like we at least dipped our toe in some of the different voices that we would hear out in nature this season?
I think so, bro. And we were intentional about trying to highlight stories and different perspectives, but really kind of lasered in on the passions of Black and brown voices, which was just a really kind of, that's kind of who we are. That's the missions that we have for our birding clubs. Is kind of how we surround ourselves, how we kind of move in the space as a whole. And it's just really a core part of this season. So it really, it felt special to share so many of those voices with our audience. And it made me realize, because I was just like, I could book like 3 more people on this topic, or, there was like, it was just so eye-opening where I was like, wait a minute, we are in these spaces and we're moving in ways that are special. And like you said, I know we will be able to continue to tell those stories and invite these diverse voices and that are representing birding and nature and science as a whole on this podcast. And I think that really excites me, just to know that, there will be a season 3 and probably a 4 and a 5, God willing, right? Yeah. That we can continue to be here and be able to connect people with all these amazing people that we know across the globe, and even new people, bro, that are kind of coming into the fold. Shout out to our audience. I feel like we have like the best audience. They're always keeping us in the know and letting us know, hey, you should chat with this person or that person or that person. Please do not stop that, because there are clearly so many more stories that need to be told, and we want to do our best to be able to tell them. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just, it's just like, wow. Sometimes, I'm not one to be left speechless often, but I would say our guests left me speechless quite often this season.
Yeah, they were all amazing, and I think we need to give them their flowers,
Yes.
From like we just had so many amazing, and these folks, like, let's remind people, like, our guests that we have on, right? Like, we're not major podcast budget yet. We ask these folks to take time out of their day to spend time with us and share their stories. And certainly in some cases, they have other initiatives that they share with us that we're happy to put out there, whether it's a book or a conference or an outing or just a message or whatever it is, right? And like, we really, really appreciate them sharing their time with us. We wouldn't have got to this level of joy without them. And so I just want to make sure they all get their flowers, and
100%. I think you touched on something big, is like, we literally just created this together, Yeah. It's just me and you, where there's no budget or there's no sponsors behind the podcast. It's literally Jason and Dexter. Right. We do everything ourselves. So it completely funded by us, out of our pocket, just something that we want to do because it was on our heart. Yeah. We got pushed to start something when we went to Little St. Simon's Island, and that experience. I think that experience was like payment. I feel like going there and connecting with so many people, that was priceless for me. I just one of those pivotal moments in my life that I'll never forget, and I'm super grateful for that. And hopefully this podcast is returning that joy to other people that get to listen.
Yeah. I mean, and speak of that island, right? Like everything kicked off with, Christian and Karina and others invited us down there, and Christian Cooper was our first guest ever on this podcast. And it was
so wild. Did you hear what you just said?
I know.
Like our first guest ever was Christian Cooper. Like that is crazy. He was literally like, when we started talking about guests, we're like, dude, like if we had our dream guest, man, it'd be Christian and Dr. Drew Lanham. Yeah.
And that list is only grown, right? That list is only grown, right? Because we're meeting so many people and so many people are reaching out, right? But like Christian kicked us off and just really provided a great way to start this conversation. And then we jumped into we had Isaiah Scott up there at Cornell. We had Jordan Rowley out there in Utah, Mariah and Luis, down in Florida, and I guess Alaska sometimes. I don't know where they are right now, right? And like all of those folks, like just drawing that through line, that thread, and like everybody's story is coming from a different place, but this thread is connecting all of it, right? And you felt like there were things that in an hour of a podcast we had in common, right? Even though we all come from different places, right? And that's really these stories that connect the humans, obviously surrounding the birds, but sometimes it's just experiences that we have in life that we don't know that we're connected on that come out because we found each other through birds, which is amazing.
And even if those experiences are different, right? Like, it's just like they could be different, but they aren't that different, right? It was just like this common thread of joy. And like, I started thinking like about Amar when he came and schooled us on all things goals. And goals, literally, we have been nerding out about goals and teasing goals since season 1, to see him come through the goal guy of all goal guys, man, to just, man, I can still see you smiling, bro. Like that day, like you were just lit up. And bro, speaking of lit up, then Lauren and Dr. Murray Burgess come on a Field Inclusive, which today is actually January 12th. As we're recording this episode, is the first day of Field Inclusive Week. So shout out to them. Shout out to them. So go check that out. You can literally see their work in action right now this whole next week. They're trying to connect people all over the country. Talk about inspiring work when it comes to diversity and inclusion, when it comes to field research, bro. Like, it's just wild to see.
And it was crazy to go from that, where it's this very, between Amar, Lauren, and Dr. Murray Burgess, like this very tactical in the field kind of process to learn things, make things available and inclusive, whether it's Amar's book or Field Inclusive Week. That piece of it being so detailed and being so excited to go through all of that, right, with them, and then having a moment to like take a breath. And then we're all of a sudden we're in Flatbush with Indigo, and we're in San Diego with Tammah, and they're talking us through how to take reflection on those moments, how to take those interaction with those birds and those people around those birds and actually use them to better our lives, right, in these very meaningful and consistent ways, right? And hearing about the way that both of them do that, let's say on 2 different coasts with 2 different backgrounds, was absolutely tremendous. Like, it was like this beautiful mindful birding cookie, like Oreo, right? And like you and I are in the middle, and Tammah and Indigo on either side, and like, having those perspectives, right, I think was great, and it came a good time of the year, right, where everybody was, I think, politically charged for different reasons, and having the ability to know that your experience outside with birds could be contextualized the way those 2 gave us the ability to do was great, man. It was great.
Yeah, they literally after like leaving those calls, a lot of people know after those calls, we call each other and we like nerd out over like the call.
How awesome was that?
Like, we didn't already do it for an hour. We're just like, oh my God, I cannot believe that. I cannot believe this just happened, basically.
Yeah.
Just to leave those conversations just feeling so like wholesome and full and seen, bro. Like seen, heard, respected, loved. Those conversations just, I'm getting goosebumps even saying some of that stuff, just thinking about how special those conversations were. And I know if I felt that, somebody else felt it. Like somebody literally just commented today from Melissa's episode talking about this just gave me life. Right. So something like when I read stuff like that, trust me, I know exactly how you feel, because like, I'm like, they're filling me up with exactly how you feel in those moments. So I get it. And I am so happy we did that. We talked about gratitude and vulnerability and being present and compassion, community. Like, that is stuff, bro, that transcends beyond the woods and the forest to just life. And if we're able to tap into those things, life just gets better. It just does those little things. So man, I'm with you though. They just left me feeling just, like you leave conversations when you talk to people like that, just believing in humanity again. You know what I mean?
And I think that's what we should be getting from the media that we consume. Like, is we should never be, at least in my mind, perpetually putting ourselves in situations where we're listening to things that leave us without hope. As crazy as this world is, right? Like, we got to stay informed on stuff, and not always easy to listen to or watch. You got to be putting yourselves in a position to fill your cup back up so you can go out and make the difference you want to make, right? Or just get through the day. And so Indigo and Tammah definitely helped us do that for sure.
Yeah, felt those in my soul, bro. Like, no lie. Those ones gonna stick with me. And then having the homies like Calvin and Alex come through to talk about the science and just their whole vibes, completely different. one in Pittsburgh, and then one in the swamps in the South, but the passion for nature and the birds came out in them in a way completely different, but the same. You know what I mean? Like, where it's just like completely different, but the same. Like, these brothers like really, really are bringing it, man. And I'm just, just so grateful to know these brothers.
Yeah. And I think a thing I like is just how much we laughed with both of them. We laughed with all of our guests. Calvin's memes that we laughed about, and I still encourage folks to go check out his page. He just posted some new ones that are pretty great.
He's been sharing a lot of that photography lately too.
Yeah, so, right. It's been great. Man. It's been great. And then
it's been rolling.
Alex, like just the vision of when he said the Troutmans pulled up in that silver minivan or whatever, like just rolled out. I was like, yeah, I lost it. Like, and just imagining like all of that really just you can relate to it because these are real life stories about people and how they grow up and how they view the world. For both of them, they've experienced things or talk about things sometimes that are tough subjects, whether it's conservation in Western Pennsylvania or access to nature in Georgia and through the federal service and access to actual research opportunities in Alex's case. Those are tough things to talk about. And they talked about them in a way that brought people in and brought some joy. And getting to do that with them, our cup, I used to go, my father was a deacon and pastor in a church for a while. I always remember them saying, my cup overflow. It's your heart is full, right? And so by this point, I think you and I our heart is full. And then here comes the homie, Melissa Hafting, who just brought the perfect bow, I think, to put on the season. And again, had some things to talk about in terms of healing and mentorship and breaking through some barriers, right? And she really gave us a great outlook. And my favorite thing was making Melissa laugh. I'll just be honest with the people. I loved making Melissa laugh. It was like my favorite thing, right? Because I just feel like that person gives so much to others. And, I love making all of our guests laugh, but making Melissa laugh as the last episode of the season and having her honor us by giving us that time with her and feeling comfortable enough to have that conversation will be one of my favorite things about season 2 for sure. So
yeah, forever
to everybody.
Grateful.
Everybody was awesome.
Yes. So grateful for everybody. When I start thinking about all these individual conversations, and we touched on some of them in our shout outs there, when I start thinking about some of those memorable moments, thinking about us kicking it off the season with Christian and Dudek, had won an Emmy, best-selling author at the time. And here we are, we reaching out to him like, hey, you want to chat with us on our podcast? And literally was like, yes. Right away. Yes. When y'all want to do it, and it was just for that to happen. Not only was I super grateful when I listened back to the conversation, I listened to that episode a few times. It was just different. And what stood out to you about his story and our conversation with him? Because like you said, we listen to other podcasts. We do a lot of different things. And when I listened to that conversation, it was just very unique and inspiring. What stood out to you about that conversation?
The thing I think stood out the most, which most people would probably not see right off the bat, is that where the news stories focused on the trauma of the situation that kind of started in Central Park, right? Like he spends most of his time focused on forward and the things that he's doing. Like he was straight up with us. Like, I don't really think about that moment in the park, and it happened. And although it was maybe we'll call it a canon moment for the Black and brown birding community, man, he flipped that thing into an Emmy. And I think he's looking at it as, yeah, it happened, but I mean, look at me now, right? Look at us now. And I think that was the part I took most from him was like, don't let these things inhibit you. And if you have the desire, flip them into something positive. I think that was the big message that I not only got from him in that episode, but I get from him every time I'm with him, whether he's in Philly or I'm in New York for something. That's really what I got out of it. And then, I don't recommend that folks go out and look for trauma in the birding community, but just know that if it happens, there's ways to deal with it. And we had conversations with Melissa and Tammah around some of that, right? Around how to heal and just mentally get yourself to a place where maybe you can start to drive forward, right? Like did you get like a similar thing from Melissa and Tammah? Like how did those episodes like kind of work with you?
Yeah, I remember when you first told me about your experience with Tammah, when you went out there, and I hadn't even talked to her personally one-on-one before that. But like, I remember you telling me about your experience, and I was just like, I never thought about that. How do I feel in this moment? How do I feel during? How do I feel after? And being really intentional about like, how do I feel in these moments when I'm out in nature, when I'm out birding? And it was something that I really started doing more of. And I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm not feeling great. I'm not feeling great right now. I think I need a walk. I'm going to go walk. After that walk, I'm feeling better, you know? And I was like, okay, I got to start sharing this magic. I got to start sharing this magic with people. So I think that's what it got for me, because it was like healing in itself, like trauma. People always like try to connect trauma with, oh, you're so strong. And I'm not necessarily in that camp. I'm in the camp of trauma wears on you. Trauma puts you in fight or flight. Trauma beats you up. Trauma has these long lasting negative impacts on your life. Healing can help get some of that back, right? So I'm not in the camp of trauma makes you stronger. Healing helps restore the damage that trauma did to you. And I think that's what I got from them, was that's like on these last 10 years or so, I would say for me, healing has been the key to all of my success. Right? Being willing to confront, whether it's childhood trauma stuff that you went through, but dealing with real issues that you may be confronted with, mental health issues you may be dealing with, and confronting them and being honest about them and understanding that those things don't make you lesser than. Yeah. And especially for men. And I will say, you know, I'm speaking for myself in this. We are taught not to feel. We are taught not to deal with a lot of different things. And that causes trauma. So I think those two just kind of really open my eyes to not only like the power of vulnerability, of gratitude, of understanding that grief is normal and that only makes you human. I think I will be forever grateful for those type of conversations, just as a human being, to even be able to have that conversation with them, but to be able to facilitate a conversation like that for our audience, bro, I think is literally a game changer. From that respect, I just think I'm going to be forever grateful for what they did. It just changed me. It changed me, bro.
I'm hoping other folks get the same thing, right? If you and I got it, if we did our job, you know, other people got it from the episode as well, right?
Yeah, we chatted a little bit about this in the shout outs, but I can't tell you, like, when we were recording with Amar, the Gold Joy episode, I just kept like looking at you, and it was like this little bitty light popping off of your face the whole time, you know, like you're so happy. What did that convo do for you? That Gold Joy convo?
You know, it really it did two things, right? One, it finally gave me a chance to talk about something that I enjoy, right? I'm not an expert at it by any means. Like, I have people around me out here in PA that are just fire, man. Their goal ID skills are just insanely good, right? And I'm not that yet. And I don't know that I ever will be necessarily. It just validated for me that there's a place for people like me in the community of birding around trying to figure out goals, right? Because it's, you know, we grow up and we goals take this place in many of our communities as just these things that are near water sometimes and steal your French fries, right? And doesn't go past that in the common knowledge of most folks. And then even in the birding community, Amar said it, right? Some people say, I don't do goals, right? As if they're just, as if they're just some, all of a sudden, no longer a member of the bird community. And this, which is weird. So it validated that there's a place for beginner goalers in the community, and someone that is arguably one of the foremost experts on goals in North America, making that very clear in our episode and in the book, which is quite extensive. Yeah. If you take your time with it, you can start to learn. So that, and then also it just kind of excited me because goals are a puzzle, and some people hate puzzles. I don't like puzzles necessarily, like in terms of like sitting at a table and doing a puzzle. My wife is great at it. I am not. I like a puzzle in terms of a bird ID sometimes. And I like goals because I'm wrong half the time. Like I know it sounds weird, but like I like a good goal mystery. Like I check North American goals every day on Facebook, right? And I'll try to guess based on what I see before I read anybody's comments or responses, right? And I'm wrong half the time because half of them are those weird West Coast hybrids. Sometimes I'll get it right, and I'll be like, all right, it's getting there, right? And so like just giving me an anchor. And I think, the last thing I loved about that episode was that because people don't talk about goals that much in birding in general, you can imagine that many Black and brown communities don't hear about goal diversity that much, right? Or how we can even connect with the resilience of that family of birds. And so knowing that we got that out there, and I've had more Black and brown people talk to me about the goal episode than I have non-black and brown people, which is hilarious, right? Like, it's like,
there we go.
I got homies in Philly and we got tons of gulls in our waterways, and they're like texting me pictures like, hey, what kind do you think this is? What is this? Right. And these are, in industrial waterways and rivers around the city, right? People are excited to see great blackback gulls in South Philly. So like, that episode did a lot for me. I think it did a lot for the community to validate that we deserve to be here. We deserve to enjoy these puzzles of gull ID, and we deserve to connect with and relate to gulls as a valuable member of the bird community.
So, I love it. And I'm going to my first gull frolic in February. Let's go.
That's right. That's
Rita
right. You're going to
too.
be out
Me
there.
Rita's
Rita's going too?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Take some pictures, please. That's going to be awesome, right? And
we both going. She's been a couple times, so she knows Amar. Rita and Amar, they know each other. So
you rolling with homies then. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a beautiful part, right? Because you're establishing a community with a new kind of birds that maybe you didn't spend that much time with before for whatever reason, right? And like, you have, for a fact, you have two smiling faces that will be there in Amar and Rita,
100%,
right? And you can establish that point of, mentorship, right? If you want to, and others can, right? Which I think is really great. We had a lot of that, through a lot of our episodes, right? Of like you and I making those connections, right? Do you think those topics resonated a lot with people, like in terms of finding community and mentorship? Like, I thought we did a pretty good job. What did you think?
I hope so, because one thing I also noticed that was common with our guests, that black and brown folks don't have that and didn't have that growing up. I'm hoping, there's a phrase that I really love is break the cycle. And if we can break the cycle on this podcast, if we can break the cycle as club leaders, if we can break the cycle as birders, if we can break the cycle as parents, whatever, we can be a part of that change. And I think that's what we did, is we showed people, like Alex said, like living life with a wildlife mirror, right? Showing people, yourself, myself, and all of our different guests that, hey, young folks, we are out here. There are people that look like you in these STEAM fields doing things that are willing to answer your questions. Right? Yeah. That are willing to be there for you. Like you just mentioned, somebody sending you pictures of gulls and different things. Yeah. Prime example. That's a little example of just being there for somebody, answering a question for somebody. I had a friend of mine send me a recording of an owl call they kept hearing outside their house. They had no clue what it was. Of course, I told the homie what it was. You know what I mean? That type of stuff lights me up, because that tells me that you've been paying attention to what I'm doing, and now you're paying attention to the birds. You're paying attention to the sounds. You're paying attention to nature. And what do I always say? When you start to pay attention, you're birding. Keep watching, keep asking questions. Yeah, keep being curious. That's what I'm really, really excited about. But also those themes of mentorship and community really got me thinking about how I wanted to move different in the new year, right? Like I always tell people, I'm not a goals person. I'm a habit person. So I'm a type of person where I build habits. I build new habits, not goals, because I feel like habits last, goals end. And so now what's next? So instead of setting goals for the new year and new year resolutions, I always say, what habit am I going to get into that can change my life for the better? And for me, I started thinking about meeting my audience where they are. So already, bro, in 2025, I've been going on hikes with different organizations and meeting people here and meeting people there, not even necessarily my birding events, but they're related to outside. So if you're outside, I'm outside. I said, we outside all 2025. That's literally that's the habit that I'm trying to establish in the new year, is I'm outside all 2025. I don't care where I'm at, where y'all going, what you need, and I'm pulling up. I'm sliding. Where you going? You going ice fishing? I'm sliding. What you doing? Right. Yep, I'm going here. I'm doing whatever I can do. And shout out to Jasmine Banks from Outdoor Afro. She's actually a member of our club, but she started leading hikes for Outdoor Afro. And the homie Christopher Kilgore of Color in the Outdoors, he, black man, has an organization dedicated to just getting outside and enjoying nature. Bro, why I look online yesterday and Jazz and Chris are literally in an ice shanty ice fishing together. Black woman, black man.
Y'all got that,
and
homie.
they catching fish, bro. I lost it. I said I had to walk yesterday. Otherwise, I'd have been in that joint with them, fam. Like I'm talking about. I'm so excited just to get outside with everybody. And Jazz, myself, and Chris are actually going to lead all BIPOC walk on MLK Day. So I'm really excited to collaborate with them. That's what it did for me. I'm like, this keep coming up. This must be it. Be that person for people and get out there and show people that this is for them.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Right. And there's like I said at the beginning, it's almost infinite. There's so many different voices and diverse voices in our outdoor communities, right? Birding is just one part of it. And even within birding, it's wild, right? Which our guest this season indicated, right? And will indicate in seasons to come. But then you start talking about stuff like ice fishing, like number one, that's you. You got that, right? I love the cold, but you're not going to find me out on no ice, bro. I watch too many of them weird shows. I'm not trying to get rescued by a golden retriever and a firefighter.
They got like heaters and like food and like... They look like they like chilling, like literally, like they look all comfortable. They don't look cold. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Listen, I sit around ice when I'm looking for stuff. It was a sandhill crane out here the other day sitting on ice that drove everybody crazy. You want me to cut a hole in the ice and then sit next to the hole for hours. Y'all got it. Send me some pictures. All right. But I think that's beautiful because someone else is going to see that and they're going to love that. And they're going to go out and they're going to see you doing it. They're going to see the homies doing it. And they're going to start asking questions. How can I go do this? And that's when it starts, right? And like, we just want to make sure that folks are inspired to be the answer to that question. When someone is sitting around and they say, how can I learn how to ice fish? And they're coming from a community that probably never has done that. Mm-hmm. Is there someone out there to help? And that's really
it's
where we
want. It's very similar, bro, to when we had Alex on talking about hunting.
Yeah.
You don't hear Black folks talking about hunting that often. Mm-mm. Definitely not on a bigger platform, right?
Yeah.
Where you're reaching, thousands of people all over, like hearing this Black scientist talk about hunting.
Yeah.
Bro, find me somebody that's doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Hunters of Color is doing it, right? And so there you go. Right?
So that's when you ask, when we're thinking about what resonated, what's a moment for you that reminded you that centering those diverse voices is so important?
I mean, all of our episodes had moments there, but I think the episode we had with Jordan Rowley did because we talked about birding in Utah, and Utah is one of the whitest places you can get.
Black folks birding in Utah.
Yes,
that's another element.
And I didn't say it in the episode. I missed it. The homie Ashley Cleveland at Outdoor Auntie on Instagram was the one that invited me out there in the first place to do the walk at the Pia Okwai Nature Center. And the fact that Jordan, a white man, was showing up saying, "Man, I have been dying for something like this, a more diverse community," and showed up to that walk and enjoyed it and noticed, I don't live there. So he knew that it was different. And so that validation from him as not someone who works at the aviary or anything like that, but is actually studying birders and saying this was a difference. This was a different thing that happened that you were involved in. And then just meeting other people out there that are focused on conserving the Great Salt Lake, focused on making sure the trails out there are accessible, all of that. So I think Jordan's episode was cool because it kind of gave not only some validation to doing those kind of things, right? Going to spaces where you may not be as comfortable, but knowing that it can make a difference, right, was key for me. So I look forward to doing more of that, honestly, in 2025. You talk about habits, and I think I already have a habit of saying yes to a lot of stuff when I need to slow down, but I don't think I'll do that necessarily in terms of meeting new groups, right? I was just talking with someone yesterday, and we have a community outside of Philadelphia here it's a mushroom farming community in Chester County, PA, and the staff for the mushroom farms is, you can imagine, majority immigrants, folks that are working, trying to support their families here. And this young lady is like, hey, she said to me yesterday, she said, a lot of these folks, when they come, the countries they grow up in, they have connection to nature in those countries. And then they come here and they still want that, but they have no idea where to start. And so she's trying to get some bird outings going for those Spanish speaking communities. And we're trying to get her helped out. Right. And like, my cup was full just from a 20-minute conversation with her. Right. Like where she had only met me once at one of my bird outings and then decided she was going to go do something for her community. And I was like, well, let's go. Like when Jordan was on and validating that, and then to have that experience yesterday, that's the thing that pops in my head right now is like the opportunities are there.
They are. And when you mention opportunities and we're talking about community, I love our community online that our listeners. Like, I love their comments. I love the joy. I want, hopefully, like, as we start looking ahead to season 3, bro, in the spring, I hope we can start to introduce Birdjoy stories from our audience members next season.
Yes.
This community, like, our podcast is all about the community. I really want to try to elevate the voices of our community a little bit more, encouraging people to record like a small voice memo on their phone, sharing their favorite birding moment of the week or season, or a reflection on their favorite episode, or what podcast guest meant the most to them. And they literally can just record that like 30 seconds on their phone. It will sound clear enough for us to use it, and email that to birdjoypodcast@gmail.com. If they could do that, we can start incorporating their stories into the episodes. And I really want to do that next season. If you're listening today, think about that. Think about sending us an email with some of your favorite birding moments in your life, or reflection from an episode, or a shout out to a guest, or what a guest meant to you. We would love to hear from you. So like I said, record that. It can be as simple as recording it on your phone on a voice memo and emailing that to birdjoypodcast@gmail.com. And we can make it sound all nice and pretty, incorporated in our episodes in season 3. So I really want to do that, bro.
Yeah. And there's some homies out there. Some of y'all commenting on the Instagram weekly. You know who you are. A lot of y'all are finding joy and different connection with different episodes. Like, shoot us a note. We want to hear it. I don't care if it's on your lunch break, and you're listening to a red-bellied woodpecker sound off in the oak tree next to your office. I don't care if it's you out in the middle of the field hiding in the bush, trying to wait on this owl. Like, I don't care what it is, right? Like,
we want to hear about it.
And I think the thing I want to hear the most is how people are feeling in those moments, what their excitement is. It's cool if you send us something and you say, hey, like, my name's John. I'm sitting in the bush. And if you're in the background, you can hear, all these Northern Cardinals singing. That's cool. But John, how do you feel, man? What you out there for? Like,
how
why
do
you like
you feel?
Yeah, like, I want to know, right? Because that's the part that we leave open to interpretation sometimes. And like, I love the idea of the voice memos. But the cool part I think about our episodes is that not only do we have some technical information, we have some introspective information, but we also have this opportunity with every episode to people to feel the joy and excitement, get excited for that. And so like, what's exciting you? Like, I love Northern Cardinals, right? Like every spring when Northern Cardinals start singing, that's like my favorite sound. I don't care. You can save all the other birds. You can save all the other birds every spring. Cause it's literally like Adele was a bird. Think about it. It's rich. It's deep. It's loud. It's on point every time, right? And you don't hear it. You don't hear it in the fall, right? Or in the winter. But man, it started getting a little warm. The daylight started getting a little longer. And the homie just like, it's like they like drinking the honey tea, and then they just perch up and they're like, I'm about to give it to the world right now. If you send us that, I want to hear that from you. I want to hear why you're out listening to the thing you're listening to. What inspired you to do it? And I love that. I can't wait to incorporate that. That's going to be so exciting, man. So exciting.
Yes, please send us those moments. That would be awesome. Jay, as we start thinking about it, we've already been chatting about guests. We got some guests already lined up for season 3, which is pretty wild to think about it. But what are some guests on your dream list for season 3?
I have a lot of them. And 12 episodes a season, 12, 13 episodes a season. We're going to have to execute some patience here because there's so many amazing people. We got to talk to the homie Dudley Edmondson.
Yes.
Right? Dudley. We have to, right? I would love to get Karina on. I know she like raising babies and stuff now. So maybe we can get some of her time and talk with her about what she's doing and what she's getting into. The homie Vicus, at Vicus Wildlife on Instagram, Vikas Wildlife.
Like in Antarctica, like just chilling.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Learned of Vicus last year, right? With documentary in Alaska, just incredible documentary skills. And then a week later, homie was on a boat in Alaska Alaska looking at stuff, filming birds, eye level, flying along the water. The homie Anwar out here in Philly that was just photographing Iberian lynx in Spain. It's still on my wish list, right? Dr. J. Drew Lanham, because he has been, I've never met him. I've emailed with him once. He has been one of the biggest influences on my ability to contextualize my experience growing up in nature and who I am now based on what he wrote in his book, A Home Place, and also his 2 poetry books, right? Sparrow Envy and Joy is the Justice That We Give Ourselves. Those are some of mine. I have a ton more too. What about you? Who's on your list? Did I steal some of yours?
Yeah, but well, I'm gonna let it slide. The homie Nicole Jackson.
Yes, Black and NPS. That's right.
Yeah, the homie Deja Perkins. We got the homie Joseph Saunders. We got, there's a lot of folks, bro. Like, we could just keep chatting. The homie Taiki.
I'm going to have to get mentally ready for Taiki, though, because he's going to come in with like 16 dad jokes. So I'm going to have to figure myself out.
There's so many, there's so many in our, speaking of mushrooms, and our mycelium network, of people all over the country and in the world. We proved that when we hollered at the homie in British Columbia, still North America, but we go into different countries and stuff, bro. There are a lot of some younger folks just pop out, and just like Ike, so elevating some of those younger folks coming up, I think will be really, really fun. If I got my druthers and we could get a big homie on the show, it would be the Hip Hop Science Show. If we can get the homie from the Hip Hop Science Show, because he literally slid in on a couple of our latest reels.
I saw that.
Al got the homie's attention. So, when we're thinking about bringing in Hip Hop MD, that would be kind of crazy, because he is Bill Nye meets World Star. And the homie is he's the gold of science communication to me. So if we could get Hip Hop MD on the show, I probably would faint for like 5 minutes and then wake back up and be like, is he still here? Is this for real? Is this for real? He's like, bro, I don't know who people think is the GOAT, but he is the GOAT of science communication. East Coast people Maynard might say Biggie, you got people might say Pac. That's who he is. That's who he is for science communication to me.
Yeah. I hope he has some love for birds, because his storytelling is absolutely tremendous.
It's second to none, bro. It's so freaking tremendous. Funny. It's so funny.
I laugh every single thing he does. I laugh, right? And
bro, what was it? What was the one he got you on with the pumpkin pie versus sweet potato pie?
Oh, see, listen. Now that one.
See?
That one. Yeah, that one. That one was blasphemous, right? Like if you came to my house with that nonsense, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send you straight to church with that. You're gonna have to go repent for your sins. Don't you bring no pumpkin pie up in here. I'm good with I'm good with the pumpkin roll. That's fine. It's a separate thing, but no, we're not gonna do that.
I'm crying, bro. I'm crying, man.
Yeah, so that would be great, man. That would be great. And I think folks have learned this season that we are a Bird Joy podcast, but it is parallel to being in nature and studying nature and enjoying nature and finding value and connection with nature, not just with the birds, right? So we talk with people where they're experiencing other creatures and other communities that are adjacent to us, right? And so, I hope folks like that and look forward to more of those kind of themes, continuing. We still gonna bring the Bird Joy, right? It's always gonna be there. But Bird Joy is like an amoeba. You can slide it into different spaces. It can fit around these common themes of access to nature, of learning, of finding joy outside. And so do you have any different themes that you want to try to check out this season coming up?
Hey, mammologist. You see, I said
it. You got it.
Yeah. No, we could just start exploring I think having conversations, and maybe it's not every week, but I think opening up to all STEAM fields is fair game for us.
Yeah.
I just, as long as we're centering and amplifying voices from underrepresented communities and ultimately they just got to understand what's at the heart of Bird Joy, the joy of nature. The Bird Joy podcast is about the joy of nature and science and as a whole. So I think diving into other STEAM fields, I think would be really cool. Also this idea of meetups for only BIPOC folks. right?
Yeah.
Where like we run clubs and we created our clubs for people of color, but also allies. But stepping away from that and focusing on meetups for only BIPOC folks and how to go about that, I think that will be an interesting conversation. Like I mentioned, the MLK Day hike and the way that we're going about that is a lot different than how we would go about a typical club event. And I don't know. I think there's some really cool conversations I think we could have in regards to creating those experiences for those groups specifically and being intentional about those groups and what that looks like and how to go about that. I'd love to have that conversation. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one would be awesome, right? And it's the good part about it is there's some intersectionality there with other underrepresented communities where they can listen and maybe get ideas on how they do that in their spaces, which I always enjoy. And those kind of events are necessary because it presents a slightly different, I'll say, substrate for community and learning, right? And you know, this world is getting more diverse by the day. And even in our little bubble here in North America, right, or in the United States, we're not really even considering right now in our conversations the level of diversity that is happening across all these other continents and parts of the world, languages, religions, backgrounds, everything. And so our conversations are just conversations. They're meant to spur the mind and give a platform to the thought, essentially, right? So that you have some place to start with it, right? And see what you want to do. So I'm really looking forward to that. You know, honestly, I don't have any specific themes. I think my themes are going to come from some of the stories that you want folks to share. I think that is where I'm really going to my brain is going to start to, I don't know what the word is, sizzle a little bit, right? Because there's, and we said this at the end of last season, there's stories out there that we don't know. And just like I want to see all the birds in the world, I want to hear as many stories as possible. I think storytelling as a theme for next season is going to be something that I'm interested in, just how people go about that and what their context is and where they're coming from. Oh, I do want to do an episode or maybe a conversation. Maybe this will be season 4, but I got a homie in New York, Edmundo, who is one of my birding and biking homies. And I'm going to get up there this spring to bird through some of the boroughs with him on bikes. And like just the idea of transporting yourself through a metropolis on a bike, not in a car, safety issues, what birds you can see, that kind of fascinates me because it gives another, we always talk about accessibility. Well, maybe you don't have, the funds for a car right now, but you got a bike. So how can we make that bike get you what you need in terms of birding, especially in a city like New York or in a city like Philly? That would be something I would be definitely interested in too, man.
That'd be super dope. Yeah, I would just say ultimately moving forward, we want to really kind of get the audience involved more. So like I said, please share your stories with us. Share your stories with us so we can share them with the world. We're also looking for potential sponsors for season 3. Hit us up if you're a brand or an organization that wants to partner with the Flyest Birding Podcast in the game. Maybe we can build something together.
Let's go.
Ultimately, down the road, I would love, like you said, shout out to all of our guests. I mean, they're giving us their time. Time is a very valuable resource, especially for the type of folks that we're talking to. So an hour, that means a lot. If we were to be able to compensate people for jumping on the pod and stuff, that would be a dream just because you deserve it. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that literally just sat down to chat with us because we literally doing this for the love this season and last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to everybody who listened, right? You make it worthwhile that these folks, it's because of you, the listeners out there and who you represent that these folks, these guests, feel it worthwhile to come on here and share their stories, right? It's because you are worth. Thank you for listening. And if we had to button it up, Dex, what's one word you would use to describe this season?
Excellence.
That's a good word. It's a good word. You're not going to be able to use it for next season. Just know you already took it off the table.
That one, right? Yeah. I think back on it, and it literally was excellence. Every time we talked to somebody, they were just doing excellent things in their field, wherever they were in that part of the world. Excellence. What about you?
Fun. Honestly, like I was looking at some of the promo videos and we have a lot of them and I look forward actually to putting together a little recap promo video for the Instagram and the Facebook, but fun, man. I laughed so much with so many people. Like we're all so silly and I love that. that we can have super serious topics like goal ID, but then spend the majority of the episode laughing about silly stuff like which goal you're going to bring to a fight. I just, it's just that fun was me. And I hope in the future we can keep stacking these representative characteristics of our podcast: diversity, fun, introspection, storytelling. And so that's really my hope, is that next season, with getting some of the stories in, we can build on that.
I love it. And to everybody listening, please don't forget to share the podcast with people you think could, benefit from these stories, but also leaving reviews for the podcast wherever you get your podcast helps us reach even more people. So if you haven't done that already, please leave a review of the podcast for us so we can continue to grow and reach more people with this bird joy.
Yeah. And just again, thanks to everybody. But I'm already, we're thinking about season 3. It's January right now. So everybody that lives in this cold state will hunker down, get some soup. We'll certainly keep active on the gram and share some stuff. You can start sending those stories in right away, right? Yeah. If you want to, right? We would love to hear them and try to find a way to share them.
Shoot, we can. I mean, if they start sending them, who knows? Maybe we can start sharing some of those.
Get some bonus content.
Yeah, some bonus stuff. I like that. Yeah, please share those. Right? Yeah, share those stories with us.
Yeah, if you're out freezing your butt off on a Great Lake looking for gulls with Dexter, Amar, and Rita, send us a little note. Right, and tell us how it is. Is it really that fun? Are you seeing something cool? Do you have hand warmers? Are you okay? Yeah. Looking forward to that, man. And dude, thank you. It's been another great season, brother. Thank you so much.
Yes, bro. Yeah, thank you. My Sundays, man, I always look forward to it. I would say people can expect us back probably in April, around there. Sometime in April, I would think we'll come back. I'm pretty sure that's when we kicked off the last time, didn't we? Around there?
Yeah, somewhere around
Season
there.
1. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Well, springtime.
Yeah.
Spring's going to be a fun spring. So I think there's going to be a lot of cool stories that we'll be able to tell some folks.
Yeah.
We got some cool stuff coming up together in the spring, and super excited, bro.
That's right. We got some stuff coming up in the spring, and I'll have some stories from Northeast India.
You're going to India next week. Yep. You're gonna find the citrine wagtail, and you're gonna make sure that one of their homies goes to visit Melissa in BC.
Right. I'm gonna drop off the note, the recommendation, and the directions, and we'll be good.
Oh, man. Thank you for joining us on the Bird Joy podcast. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of birding with us in season 2. Shout out to the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin. We are still busy. We were just out yesterday birding in the winter. We saw 24 species of birds in the middle of winter. So shout out to the BIPOC flock. If you're curious what we got going on, just stop by the website, bipocbirdingclub.org.
Awesome. We haven't done too much in the winter yet with in-color birding, at least not in January. Had some walks in December. But the homies in Philly, incolorbirding.org, we are going to roll out some of our events for late winter and early spring, along with a brand new website for all of you to enjoy, which is going to be pretty dope. So I've been working on it for a few months now with some homies here in Philly. Yeah, if you're in Philly, incolorbirding.org, check us out.
Love it. Like I said, please share. Also subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a review. Shout out the podcast to all your fellow bird nerds. Help us spread a little bird joy.
All right, my guy.
We did it, bro. Another season in the books. Enjoy your trip to India, my guy.
Thanks, my guy. I'll talk to you. Peace.
All right, peace.